for the final assessment assignment, our agency is a private counseling clinic, and the presenting problem is someone with anxiety. Hey, I'm Scott. I'm one of the counselors here at the clinic. What's your name?
I'm Angela.
Nice to meet you, Angela. So just before we begin, I just wanted to let you know that anything that we talk about here is confidential. However, there are a few situations where I would have to break that confidentiality on good reasons, of course. So one of them would be safety to yourself if there's if I feel like you may be threatening to harm yourself or others. That's the second reason. And if there's a child protection issue, there's a child at risk, I'll speak to someone about that. And finally would just be if I'm subpoenaed to court. So that's super rare. It's only happened a couple times in my work here, but just figured I would let you know in case. So that's the 4 reasons where we have to breach confidentiality. But anything outside of that stays between you and I. So before, I guess, as we begin now, just maybe feel free to tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a 3rd-year dentistry student, and I guess I'm here because I think I've been experiencing just ongoing symptoms of anxiety. I just am having a really hard time calming myself, or I don't know, I just feel always tense. So yeah, I rent an apartment downtown on campus. It keeps me busy too because I gotta do school, and I gotta look after myself and pay the bills too. So
it's a pretty busy life being a student for sure. Yeah. Okay, so whereabouts in town? You said it's downtown. What kind of apartment are you in? Like, do you want to tell me a little bit more about like where you're living?
Yeah, so just a classmate and me are renting a 2-bedroom apartment. It's just right on campus, basically. She's been good, a pretty good roommate, but I mean, there's always kinks to be worked out, but yeah, so that's been good, and we have a really cute place. It's cute when it's clean anyways, so yeah.
When it's clean, is it not clean very often, or is it not as clean as you'd like, or?
Well, just school and studying and clinical and all that just takes up so much time, and we're both busy because we're both doing the same program, and when it's busy for one of us, it's busy for both of us usually. So yeah, there's quite a few times when the dishes just sit on the counter for way longer than I would like.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that can be a source of stress for sure. Yeah. So just on your roommate, like how long have you known her for? What's your relationship with her?
Well, we met at school, like in our first year of dentistry. We just happened to sit beside each other on the first day and hit it off. And so the second year, we were both looking for somewhere to live, and so we became friends by that point. So we just decided to get a place together. So yeah, it's worked out fairly well.
Okay. And do you have any other good friends in the program or outside the program? Like, what would you say a friend looks like?
I'm kind of just a little bit friends with most people in my class. There's Caitlin is my roommate. So I would say she's definitely my closest friend. And I have a couple others who we generally kind of hang out with, if we get a break at lunch or whatever. But yeah, I just kind of, I'm just kind of somebody who chit chats with whoever, but I've never been really attached by the hip
Yeah.
like some girls. So.
Okay. To each their own. That's cool. And then so what about other people in your life? Maybe family, like what sort of relationships are there for your family?
I just have a younger sister and my parents, and they live out of town, and yeah, I talk to them on the phone every couple of weeks. But yeah, we get along pretty well.
You said they're out of town. Is it a fair ways away? Like how far are we talking?
Like 5 hours, yeah. So
Okay.
I can go home on long weekends or whatever, but it's, I can't just go home for supper.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you say that you like to go home more often than you do, or is that not too big of a priority right now?
I don't have time to go home. 5 hours, you times that by 2, that's 10 hours of driving to go there and back. And I just don't have that kind of time right now.
Are they mostly positive relationships with your parents or your sister, or
Yeah. I mean, I think with anybody, like relationships kind of have good times and bad times. I don't know, my parents are really proud of me that that I'm going to be a dentist next year, basically. Makes them look good, and I'll make a good life for myself. But yeah, they've always wanted me to, do my best, and sometimes better than my best. But
okay, so you said it makes them look good. What do you mean by that?
I don't know. I don't know. They need to show that they were good parents because like their kids of how their kids turn out. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you say that you feel pressure to succeed and to do well and get good grades or be in a good program, those sorts of things?
Yeah, like I felt more pressured I don't know. I definitely felt the pressure in high school and as a kid growing up, being the oldest child, there was always just like responsibilities and expectations, and I don't know. They haven't been as overt with their expectations, I guess, in some ways recently, because like I'm already doing what they think is so great, and they don't have to force me to do something else that's greater. But I feel like if I wasn't doing this, then that would go badly for our relationship.
What do you think that might look like when you say make it happen?
I can just see lots of fighting, or like I'm not good enough for them, and I just can't handle that. I don't know. It's hard to say, but I just don't think that it would end well. Like they wouldn't be supportive.
And then in turn, what do you think that how do you think that might make you feel?
If that happened,
Yeah.
Like a failure, frustrated. I don't know. can never please them.
It sounds like it's pretty important to you to make sure that you're pleasing your parents.
It is, but like I don't want them to be disappointed in me, but at the same time, like, I mean, I want to do well for myself too. I don't know. It's tough to explain.
Yeah, I know parents sometimes it can be complicated for sure. So maybe more just back to you. What kind of things do you like to do in your spare time to maybe help you relax or take your mind off things, or just things you like to do?
I like getting outside and going for walks or that kind of thing. I used to do more outside stuff, like camping or that kind of thing, but I just haven't really had time in the last few years to do much of that. So
yeah, it can be tough to carve out time, especially in a professional program like that. I can definitely imagine. Yeah. So when you aren't able to get out and do those things, how does that play on you? How does it make you feel?
more stress. if I have no way, if I'm not having fun and I don't have any way to de-stress, it just all builds on itself and I become miserable and I just become a stress ball and yeah.
Yeah, I definitely understand for sure. So in those circumstances when it does feel like you're kind of balling up and you're turning into that stress ball, so to speak, like what does that look like?
I don't know. For me or to like what would others see? What do you mean?
Either.
I definitely stop like being social. Being a social, I just worry and sometimes I feel like I can't really breathe right because I just feel like I can't just like take a deep breath and relax. I just always like even if I'm not doing something, like if I'm not doing homework or I'm not actually working on things, I still feel like I can't relax. I'm just always like anxious about my to-do list. Like there's always so much stuff I have to do and yeah, so I get tight. I know like I have to remind myself to like, give myself a shoulder rub or something like because I hold so much stress there. So yeah, I'm pretty tight.
Yeah, and that's very common for people who are stressed for sure. Other than maybe reminding yourself to breathe like that or to relax your shoulders, well, what other things do you find to work for you to help you to cope with the stress?
Well, it's good if I may force myself to take time to like go for a walk, or get outside, or sometimes talking to people helps, like to my friend or like Caitlin, or sometimes it helps de-stress me, but more often than not, it just ramps me up. Like I'm stressed about something, and then talking about how much I'm stressed about things just makes me more stressed, and I'm focusing on it when I really just want to forget about it. So yeah, that's kind of hit and miss. So I tend to just, when I am stressed and when I need a break is when I just kind of do things by myself.
And that seems to be a bit more effective than talking with friends about it.
Yeah, like I don't know, you know how it is talking to friends. Like if if I'm telling them about something that's happening, like especially if, you know, it's somebody who I go to school with or who's going through the same thing, and it just becomes like this big venting session, or I can't just get it off my chest and leave it alone. It's like, you know, I have this problem, and then they're like, oh, I have this problem too, and or can you, like, you know, I can't believe that, you know, our prof is making us do this and on such short notice, and like then we just start bitching about it. I don't know, like it's
kind of snowball into a direction you maybe didn't want it to go.
yeah, exactly. And like I can't talk to my parents about it. They don't have any sympathy. Like my dad just basically says, well, like, how hard can it be? You know, all you're doing is going to school. You know, that's only 6 hours a day, not 8 hours a day that you're in class, and I work 8 hours a day, so, you know, you shouldn't be as stressed as me. But like, he just doesn't understand that, yeah, I sit in class for 6 hours a day, but there's like so much homework and so, like all these other things, and it's just always on my mind. And you know, he goes to work for 8 hours, but then he's done, and I'm never done. So I just don't get any sympathy. I can't talk about it.
Yeah. So talking to your family can maybe bring about more stress, and talking to your friends and venting can maybe be more stressful than like. So you said that going for walks and doing things on your own, it seems to be more effective in helping you kind of deal with that.
Yeah. So far, yeah, it's helps me clear my head a little bit, and remind myself that, you know, dentistry and my day-to-day problems are not what life is about. You know, there's more out there, and you know, it's easy for me to forget about that and just get wrapped up in, you know, the issue of the day, or you know, whatever is due tomorrow. That you kind of forget about the rest of life.
So you kind of find that when you take a step back and think maybe more big picture, that you're able to put things into perspective and not worry as much.
Yeah, I am able to. It's just forcing myself to take that time is half the battle, because usually it's like, oh, I don't have time to go for a half-hour walk because I have all these things due tomorrow. Like, and it's terrible.
For sure, we have to balance things for sure. Now, just back on the topic of taking a step back and maybe thinking about um, broader perspectives of things, is spirituality important to you? Do you have any faiths that you follow, or what does that mean to you?
Um, my family goes to church, and I grew up going to church, and I guess I think that there's something out there bigger than me, but I don't know. I haven't thought about that, I guess, a lot, because there's also some things about the church that I don't agree with, and it just seems to be a lot of rules. I just don't. I don't know. I feel kind of just lukewarm about that.
About maybe Christianity, or just faith and those sorts of things?
I don't know. Just I don't know about the church that my parents go to, and I don't know. I guess my spirituality is made right now is more like just being intentional about, you know, being in the moment.
So would you say that either they're maybe Christian background that you've grown up with, or your kind of current focus on maybe being just more in the moment? Would you say that any of that plays a part in your anxiety at all?
Well, my parents go to a Catholic church, so I don't know if that's the same. But what was your question? Whether that plays a part in my anxiety?
Yeah, like does anything spiritual in your life, do you think that there's any relationship between that and your stress or your anxiety that you feel? It's a tough question, man.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe like guilt. Like I feel like I'm supposed to be doing these things that I'm not doing, and so I'm failing at something, and I guess I'm just that probably just fuels the fire for the like I'm always supposed to be more than what I am. I just can't be at all.
Yeah, it's an interesting place to be for sure. I can see it being challenging to kind of navigate that and find out what you believe in and or what's important to you. But I would definitely say that you're not alone. It's definitely something that lots of people are working with, I suppose. But in terms of maybe just on another note, like just back to your anxiety a little bit, are there certain times that you notice you find happening more than others?
When there's assignments coming up, which seems to be always if school's on. It's a different kind of anxiety when I'm in clinical, but at least then I can turn it off a little bit more at night. And when I'm in class, it just is always.
So before you were in the dentistry program, did you find the same sorts of stress going on, or is this only since you've been in the program?
No, it's kind of always been there. Like when I was doing my science degree, like that was a different kind of stress because I was trying to get into dentistry, and you got to be good enough, and if you're not good enough, what do you do with just a science degree? Like I didn't want to do anything else, and if I don't do anything, if I just leave it at a science degree, like who's gonna hire me? That's just so generic these days. So yeah, there was always that pressure that like, I had to get A's, A pluses, and like no less. So but then so there was that pressure to do well, but doing well wasn't that hard for me, I guess, and in undergrad, I only had class for a few hours a day. Like it was just structured very differently, and I don't know. And I didn't have just the amount of time that I had to put into school was less because the program wasn't that intense.
So you'd say then that your anxiety has been there for a few years, but it's more so now that you're in the dentistry program?
Yeah.
Now, this is maybe a hard question to answer, but do you think that once you're done school that some of that anxiety may subside or may go away completely?
I hope so. I don't know. I wonder if this was part of my personality now that like I'm always worried about something going wrong or not being good enough, or like there's always, I don't know, my to-do list, whatever that is, like I don't know.
Okay. Well, you know what, it can be a difficult thing to navigate if it's something that if you're stressed out because of the experiences that you're having, if it's just a tough, period in your life, or if it's something more ongoing. But, yeah, we can maybe work on that and figure that out a little bit more as we go along. So that kind of, I suppose, kind of brings me to the next phase, and it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you have kind of come in to help you kind of manage this anxiety, and would like some help with that. That's the main concern.
Yeah, I'm just so tired of dealing with it and not being able to just relax.
Okay, so before we get into different maybe things that we can work on, what would you say are some of your strengths? What would you say that you're good at?
I don't even know anymore. uh, I don't know. I guess I'm just always been really logical and I don't know, got good grades. I don't know anymore.
Sometimes when you're stressed out, it's hard to be reflective and look inside. So I think I can understand where you're coming from for sure. So moving forward then on maybe some of the different things that we can work on. I'm thinking that you might be a good candidate for something called cognitive behavior therapy. Have you ever heard of that term before?
I've heard of it. I couldn't tell you much about it, but I've heard the term before.
Yeah. Okay. Well, basically, it's a method of treatment that is kind of based on the idea that thoughts and feelings and behaviors are all interrelated. So that if you have certain thoughts, it can um, result in certain feelings, and those can impact your behaviors, things that you do, and vice versa. So by managing maybe some unhealthy thoughts and changing thought patterns, that maybe we can that'll produce different feelings, and then that'll produce behaviors that are you wanting to see. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So one way that we can kind of start that process is by just kind of doing an inventory of certain thought patterns that you have. So, for example, this isn't necessarily particular to you, but one like a thought or belief is, say, that I'm boring, and so then a feeling that could come out of that is I feel unloved, and so then we would look at maybe some evidence for that belief that you're boring. So then we maybe say that I don't have as many friends as my brother, and so then that maybe means that people don't find me interesting. But what CBT would help us do is kind of come up with some alternate evidence that creates a new belief. So say I have a few close friends that like hanging out with me, so that may mean that I'm not boring. So does that kind of way of working things out make sense?
Yeah, in theory, yeah.
Okay, so I guess as homework for our next session, I'll give you a paper here here after we're done, and we'll just start by mapping out some of those beliefs that you find to yourself, that thoughts that come into your head. So whether it's at times that you're feeling anxious or just generally throughout the day, certain thoughts that kind of pop into your head, so to speak, if you just want to record them down. And then once you've done that, then maybe just writing down what those feelings that come about from that thought. And then we can kind of look at maybe coming up with some alternate thought patterns that are related to that initial belief. Does that make sense as well?
Yeah, so am I supposed to like write this down through the day or like take a journal with me or something? Or?
Yeah, exactly. So we'll have a little journal, like a logbook kind of thing. I'll give you that once we're done here. And it'll just kind of clearly state the different things that you're looking to record, and it's, yeah, just throughout the day. Like I said, when you're feeling anxious, when you're not feeling anxious, or just if something kind of comes into your head that you're like, ooh, that maybe doesn't feel right, or that feels really kind of profound, then we can write it down and kind of explore it in our next session. So does that sound like something that you might be able to do?
Yeah, hopefully I can remember to do it and have time for it, but yeah.
Yeah, and you don't it is a new process, and I know that you are definitely busy, so it doesn't have to be an all-consuming sort of thing, but if it's just something that you can start to get a picture of where your thoughts are at, and then maybe that will, down the road, tell us a little bit of how those thoughts and feelings are influencing those behaviors and or that stress when it's starting to well up in your shoulders and those sorts of things. So, and in turn, that we can maybe start to reduce some of those feelings of stress and anxiety and those sorts of things. So now that's a bit of a process. It probably usually takes about 10 sessions or so. Does that sound like a sort of time frame that would work for you?
I can't commit right now. Like, I just don't know what my schedule's like. I don't know if I'm supposed to like book them right now or like how often those sessions are.
Yeah, and those are great questions. So we don't have to commit to anything right now. It can just kind of be, we'll say maybe we'll set one for next week sometime, and if you have some availability next week, we can sort that out with our secretary up front. But yeah, just starting the process, and it doesn't have to be a huge commitment. So, and if it's not working out, then we can try some other strategies as well. So, and I guess another thing as well, are there any other sorts of real goals that you have in coming to therapy?
I just want to feel better. I don't know what that means yet, but I just have been feeling crappy and like stressful lately. I'm tired of it.
Right. So, would you say that stress is the only thing that you're really looking to work on right now, or is that just kind of the main thing?
No, for now that's the main thing. I don't know. I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah, for sure. Baby steps. For sure. Okay. Now, are there any other questions that you have of me before we finish up? That you're bringing a question?
No.
And all the things we talked about so far, like with cognitive behavior therapy, the fancy term of the day, does that all make sense, or is there anything else that you kind of wanted to clarify a little bit?
Nope, that makes sense. Yeah, that's fine.
Awesome. Okay. Well, on that note, then I guess we'll end it for today. It was awesome to get to know you, and looking forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Well, have yourself a great day, and you can follow me on here.